no one else shows the inside of a multi-billion-dollar brand.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, why don't we do that? There are things that we will mention, and will it give a competitor an opportunity to do something quickly? Yes, it probably will. But in the grand scheme of things, for me, the idea of inspiring people to build businesses, start businesses, and be better in themselves is incredibly fulfilling.
Nice. All right, a few more kind of random, unconnected things that I want to talk to you about. So, you're kind of like a celebrity now.
I wouldn't say that.
Oh well,
I know what you mean.
You're like famous in like. What are the perks of that? Like, do you get cool stuff for being you? Yeah.
You get to meet amazing people, like really, really cool people. Like this never would have happened. Like this is like a massive pro for me. Meeting, I mentioned a guy called Jars earlier. Like I get to meet really, really cool people, and like so you've got the public world. So the thing I love about YouTube and podcasting, right, is it gives the mass audience access to conversations that they would never normally have access to, and that's great. But then there's a huge group of people, probably the vast majority of very talented people that don't really want to be on camera, don't really want to do the whole YouTube public facing thing. They just are quite happy to do their own thing. I get to speak to a lot of those people as well. That's really cool because oftentimes that's where I personally learn so much from. And like my sort of self-development's at a point where it's very niche, the specific things that I'm trying to learn. And so again, I'm now coming into this CEO role. I'm trying to find other people that have done a similar scale role, have had different similar problems to me, so that the amount of people is significantly smaller. So I would say access is amazing. And choice, like you do get a lot of choice within reason, which is great.
So access, then you could just like email, like I don't know,
like cool
a
people,
Phil Knight
right?
and be like, bro.
probably not him. But do you know what I mean? Like within the UK, there's so many amazing people that I've met, and it's so cool. Like I got to a few years ago. I got to go and spend time on Downing Street. Like I never thought that would be possible. It was life-changing for me to walk through the gates and see that, because it was just something I never thought was possible. And those sorts of things are, I find them really inspiring.
Nice. That's cool. Why did you start the YouTube channel?
I started the YouTube channel. So basically, I was very happy to not be the public-facing face of the brand. Very happy to do that. And anyone that's followed the story will know for the first 5 or 6 years, I just wouldn't have really posted anything online. Now, I took loads of content, loads of pictures, loads of videos, and I never posted them. And then all of a sudden, like the core people started to understand and know who I was and what I was doing at the business. And a lot of people would ask, and then I was in Dublin once, and a lad came up to me and he said, I'm doing a written piece on Gymshark for, I think it was a degree, it was like a dissertation. And he said, can you just give me an overview, a video on how Gymshark started? I said, I don't really want to do it. I've been asked before. And he said, come on, just one video. That's it. Like, it's what? A couple of hours of your time sort of thing. And I couldn't really say no. And I hate lying. I don't want to ever sort of make a promise that I can't keep. And I said, you know what? Fine, I will do it. I recorded it 2 or 3 times, ended up deleting the footage. And then my now fiance at the time, girlfriend, was a YouTuber, so she knew how to do it all. So she was like, right, sit there. I'm putting the camera on a tripod. I'm going to record you talking, and then she would basically edit it for me. So we put that live, and it just completely blew up. The reaction was amazing, and it was weird because it was big on YouTube, which is cool, and it was big on Facebook and Instagram and all the social networks. Then all of a sudden, like, newspapers would start writing about it, and it sort of went into that world as well. And I just kept doing it ever since, really.
Okay, because like this is an area in which I think like there are so many like really cool companies and really cool like founders and CEOs of those companies, but you never really hear from them unless they're being interviewed on a podcast.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you have got your own YouTube channel where you're showing the behind the scenes of like just the insane warehouse setup you guys have and like how Shopify works with you for Black Friday, it's all just so inspiring and so cool to see because you never get that behind the scenes work.
It's important to me because, similar to yourself, right? I love the thought of people being better in the business that they're working in, starting new businesses and being entrepreneurial and creative. I love that. I'm really passionate about it. So I thought, like, no one else shows the inside of a multi-billion-dollar brand. Yeah. So I thought, well, why don't we do that? Why don't we show people, like, there are things that we will mention, and will it give a competitor an opportunity to do something quickly? yes, it probably will. But in the grand scheme of things, for me, the idea of inspiring people to build businesses, start businesses, and be better in themselves is incredredibly fulfilling.
Nice. Yeah, that's really cool. Every time I see that you put out a new video, I always get excited. I'm like, yes, because I find that like you're operating at a level of scale that I can't even imagine, and the fact that you're making it public means that I can now sort of imagine that level of scale. I think it was similar to when I first started listening to podcasts and things like the Tim Ferriss show and stuff like that. Hearing people like Gary Vaynerchuk, where these guys are operating at a level that most of us just don't even know exists.
It's amazing. And then you talk about productivity. Those guys operate on a level that I didn't even think was possible.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. And I'm hoping that with this kind of podcast, it's a pretty good excuse to like hang out with someone, meet someone, have a long conversation. Another thing I was going to ask about is that, as Gymshark has gotten bigger, as a YouTube channel gets bigger, you start to get haters, you start to get negative comments. I guess BuzzFeed has had this issue where people working at BuzzFeed or working for BuzzFeed will then make a think piece of why I left BuzzFeed, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
How does that stuff make you feel? Like, how do you deal with the?
Yeah, so there's a point where like the whole thing of leaving Gymshark, posting it on YouTube, it would like get massive viral because everyone wanted to hear about it. Listen, it's going to happen. I think so. The thing is, especially being in my position, I guess I'm public facing. I'm not massively public facing. There are people that are far more so, but just growing a business, it's so incredibly tough. I just feel like I've been beaten with a stick around the head so many times now. You just sort of get used to it. I've been on the receiving end of, people sending me messages on social media, personally, in person, difficulties in the business, the growth phase. It's part and parcel of the job. I also, by the way, think that in the long term, it's a very positive thing because I feel like I'm held to a high level of account. And I think that only makes me in the business better.
Held to a high level of account as in?
Because on social media, anyone can call anyone out, right? Yeah. And if there's validity to the claim, then publicly people are going to know about it. Whereas maybe in yesteryear, in my parent generation, you would find, you'd look back and you'd realise companies or individuals would do bad things and sort of get away with them. And I think it's great now that people can hold individuals and businesses to account online. Granted, sometimes it can go too far, and like cancel culture, I'm massively against. I think people need to look at things with a logical set of eyes. And like I said, for me, sometimes it is very, very tough. But I think I'm putting myself out there. I'm saying I want to be the CEO of a large business, and a business that's in many ways at the centre of a culture and a community. And to do that, you have to have a thick skin, and you have to be doing the right things. And nice. I think I will do those.
Cool. I guess final thing I want to ask about, like, what's your workflow for video production with like the
James,
team?
More than me. Varies a lot, right? So sometimes we'll have an idea again. So the CEO video we saw coming well in advance. And we said we need to do this video and we want it to be special. We actually recorded it a few times and binned the footage because I was terrible, basically. I was not very good on camera. To be honest, it was quite an emotional subject for me, and my words just I wasn't even speaking in coherent sentences. So that one, we'll all sit in a room and work together. There are certain things which are more like pull, i.e. some people will message us and say, can you make this content? Sometimes I'll jump on Instagram and say, what would you like to see? People will message me. We've got someone who's brilliant called Lily in the team who will build out a brief. So you'll start with title and thumbnail. That's something I was told actually a long time ago by a guy called Jon Olsen that we used to work with.
Oh, yeah, nice.
And I asked him the same question, and he said, I always start with title and thumbnail.
Nice. Yeah, that's what we did as well now.
If you don't click on the title of the thumbnail, then you can make the best video in the world, but no one's going to watch it. So we start with the title and the thumbnail, with the purpose of the video. What do we want to get across? And now, just because of how busy the role is, I'll have a brief, and I'll sort of read through the brief. Okay, so people want to see this video. I'll be sat down on a chair and we'll record, basically.
Okay. And then all of the drone footage, all of the time lapses of the warehouses, is that all done by
James Perriott, who's an absolute wizard, life changing. Me and James have been working together for 2 years now? 2.5. 2 years, and Yeah, it's been absolutely brilliant. Absolutely. Listen, early days, I edited my own videos. So Robin did editing. I then learned to edit. She taught me. It was very time consuming editing. I remember there was videos I'd spend 8, 12, 15 hours editing and it just wasn't an efficient use of time. And by the way, I wasn't even that good at it. Then worked with other people and James came in and just revolutionised the channel.
So what's it like having someone film everything you do?
Weird at first, but then you get used to it. And, like, me and James are mates anyway. Like, so the biggest thing when I was looking for someone to work with, it's almost like, can you edit? Can you work a camera? Great, but like, it needs to be someone that we get along with.
Yeah.
COVID's obviously changed things, but we travel the world together. We've been to the States, we've been to Hong Kong. We'd be around the UK all the time. We spend a lot of time together, so we have to get on with each other and be comfortable with each other. Because if I'm rigid on camera or he doesn't like me, then it doesn't work particularly well.
It's a problem, isn't it? What about like, do you film like literally everything? Like, what if you're like having dinner with friends or like?
So we wouldn't film that, would we? Yeah. It would be anything sort of extracurricular tends to get filmed. Any trips will all be filmed. We'll normally have a filming slot every week where we'll sit down and talk to camera. We'll occasionally, so James was looking at, you're going to record for an entire month, weren't you, basically, completely, which is going to be really fun for me. So we're going to do an entire month.
Yeah.
What we'll use of that, I'm not sure.
Okay.
People love the day in the life. They love.
Yeah, it's
we've done some really cool, almost high budget professional things, and then we do wander around with a camera for a day, and people just love that. So we want to bring people a little bit more sort of in behind the scenes.
Nice. And do you just wear the microphone at all times as well?
Yeah, I tend to, yeah. You sort of get used to it.
So then James ends up with like hundreds of gigabytes of footage every day.
That's the problem. That was another problem, wasn't it, during COVID? Because then I would have my camera and I would film at home. And I didn't realise just how big the footage is nowadays.
Enormous,
when you're recording in 4K, you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of gigabytes. Well, I would have to drive to yours with the hard drive, wouldn't I? And like give you the hard drive with all the footage on because it was just too slow on our home internet.
Yeah, so we did this whole thing where we've got 2 editors in Romania, and Romania has ridiculously fast internet speeds. Everyone's on like 1,000 megabytes per second, upload download, and the internet speed in this place was like 20 meg upload download, and it was just physically impossible to upload files.
Yeah.
So I got like the most expensive BT Infinity option. I found this guy to kind of wire the router from over there, wire it around the house so it feeds into this laptop over here.
Yeah.
So we use that to upload files now.